storytellers. I want to talk about the illegal immigration, Haitian cats and dogs, everything going in chaos, and why is that happening? Let me just jump right in here. So we've got this video here, or this article here, where she's talking about her father probably was a Haitian immigrant, didn't do that, but it was known that they ate cats and dogs, that it was a delicacy, and they did animal sacrifices in Haiti because they're all into voodoo. They're all into voodoo in Africa. It's huge. It's paganism. Paganism is huge, and we're sort of ignoring that. I'm just going to jump through this quickly. So this is really annoying that sort of Republicans and politicians are downplaying what Trump said, because it's not even important exactly what Trump said. It's all about investigating and doing things, and he's sending in troops and 2.5 million to Springfield because we brought in 20,000 Haitians. That right there is the problem. What we're doing is stupid. It's destructive, and let me explain why. I'm going to go to the Star Spangled Banner. Here's the lyrics of the Star Spangled Banner, and it's about fighting the British back in 1911. I don't know, 1776 or whatever, in that period. Okay. Here, look at this, and of course they call this the song. They tried to cancel the song because it was racist. But here's what it is. And where is that band who so vauntingly swore? Is this the right one? Yeah. That the havoc of war and the battle's confusion, a home and a country should leave us no more. Their blood has washed out their foul footsteps' pollution. No refuge could save the hireling and slave from the terror of flight or the gloom of the grave. Okay. So what is this referring to? The hireling and slave. So the British hired German mercenaries, Hessians, and they freed slaves to be in their army to fight Americans. So they brought in foreigners to defeat them, and that was embedded in our Star Spangled Banner anthem to remind you and me. See, they want to erase this, but it's all about bringing in the foreigners, the non-Americans who are not part of the psyche of the American Christian culture, to then bring tyranny, right? The British they couldn't get some locals, but not really a lot. They got the slave, they freed the slaves, granting them that, and they brought in mercenaries, foreign mercenaries. That was a huge problem, and it was devastating to the America, so enough that they put it in the freaking anthem. Declaration of Independence. Here we are. You're not being taught the Declaration of Independence. We should be taught every one of these quarrels, plus the ones that the Democrats, the pre-Democrats, forced Jefferson to take out about slavery. Jefferson wanted to end slavery. Even though he owned slaves, he wanted to end it. He couldn't free his own slaves, by the way, because the Democrat laws back then forced him to keep them. And if he freed them, they would have just been auctioned off to other people. Same with George Washington. So when they claim that Washington and Jefferson were slave owners, because the Democrats kept them slave owners. They inherited from their father. They could not get rid of, free them or sell them. Now some did, and they made that illegal. It was illegal to free your slaves. That's how pathetic Democrats are and petty their evil is. And I'm talking about the pre-Democrats, but the Democrats, whatever. Let's bring this in. Talk about King George, or the tyranny of the British. He is at the same time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolation, and tyranny, already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages and totally unworthy of the head of a civilized nation. He has constrained our fellow citizens taken captive on the high seas to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands. He has excited domestic insurrections amongst us, and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers, like the Indians, the merciless Indian savages, whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. So the British are bringing in foreigners, are bringing in non-Americans, Indians, the native Indians, who use brutal gangland warfare, who were not yet civilized. Now, what am I saying by this? They were not yet Christianized. They were not yet churchified. And the foreign mercenaries were hired mercenaries come to do horrible things, okay? To suppress and oppress the Americans who were creating a free state in this land. So, let me go back further. The sack of Rome. This is before. Well, actually, this is when Christianity was hey, popping up. Actually, the same Rome was the biggest empire of all, right? And what do you think happened to them? They brought in a foreign army, the Visigoths. The Visigoths, and this is I'm not going to read all this, but so the Visigoths. I'm just saying. Here's where you can read it on Britannica. The Visigoths brought in, or the Huns. Let me go back. The Huns were terrorizing this area right here, and then so the Visigoths moved into this area, fleeing from the Huns, who were like Mongolians, the horde, early on, and they fled to this area, and Rome took them in, and then sort of turned them into a slave army, right? Foreigners, and they were suffering and being used up by the Romans, and of course, very oppressed, and they learned the ways of the Roman military, learned the ways of fighting, but suffered greatly. Even Romans would come in and just take their children as slaves, for payment or whatever. So it was really bad. And of course, then the Visigoths eventually sacked Rome because they were the outside foreigners. But it was Rome who invited them in, or who brought them in, and then used them and then exploited them. And many Romans, and I even read where many senators were trying to fight against this whole foreign invasion, like a peaceful foreign, this whole foreigners coming in, and they're the same arguments as today. Like when I remember reading it, and this is years ago before this even happened. I remember to go find it now probably is going to be frustrating, but I remember reading about how they were trying to argue that we can't have all these foreigners just coming into our country, but then the rich and the super rich were totally happy with that. I'm getting a phone call. Let me pause this. Damn, my wife called me. Okay, so what was I talking about? The Roman senators, I hope I was talking about this, were trying to argue the rich were exploiting this. They were using them. The citizens were not being soldiers anymore. The military was being ruined and weakened because they were just using these outside forces. The illegal immigrants, or the immigrants. Some considered them illegal because it wasn't accepted by all that they were just bringing in a bunch of foreigners who weren't really Roman. And I'm simplifying it. I'm generalizing it, but but this is what's going on. We are, the pagans are running the asylum, and we Christians have let them. I got a little. We Christians, the church is letting the pagans run the asylum. So what's happening in America, in Europe? They're bringing in foreigners. They're bringing in pagans. They're bringing in unbelievers. That's absolutely at the heart of what they are doing. They want to do that. Whether they know it or not, I don't care. But they want to do that. God is making them do that. God is making them do that because we are not being evangelists. We are not planting churches. They're burning churches across Europe and in Canada. They've burned many Catholic churches, and they're going to come for Protestant churches too. Because we are not an evangelist church society anymore as Christians. We are a go along to get along. Let's not bring up our religion and politics or whatever. Well, my faith is personal, or yes, I'm harking on you. We are not a evangelist society. We are not taking the church to the people. We are not, and that's another thing. Priests and pastors are not out in the community, which I'm starting to realize too. Wait a minute, because when I'm reading church history, they're out there. When the church was exploding in Europe, the priests and the pastors were out in the community, going out, exposing themselves to the people and to the leaders. Today, they're all kind of huddled in their churches, which I find we should start questioning our pastors that way and supporting them to get out. We should support them to get out, be with them when they go out, to help them. So we're not doing that. Ergo, the pagans are taking over our culture, and they're bringing in more because they've got to. They have to. It's at the heart of their. They don't even know. They think they're free, but no, they have to do this. We Christians have got to bring our missionary work, our back into the culture. Ergo, thusly, if we did, instead of bringing in all these foreigners, we would be going out into the world to create more Americas, more land of freedom. Church, we would be spreading our churches around. We can't do that though because we don't have the support of our government anymore. We don't have the support of our culture anymore. And so thusly, they're bringing in the paganism, the voodooism, the animal, the cats and dogs, eating cats and dogs and geese, and sacrificing. And the witches are declaring a renaissance right now. They're declaring a renaissance. And it's in all the shows. I mean, if you all the shows on all the streaming services now have wonderful pagan witch stuff in them. Have fun, get along with the gods, or I'm a witch and I can do things for people and help people. I have these powers and magics. This is huge now, and we Christians are silencing ourselves, and that's why I'm doing For the Lord RPG. I don't want to silence myself anymore. To get along, go along, get along. I want to. I don't mind sitting at a table with a bunch of witches, but I'm gonna be a Christian. Boom. The truth always hurts, and you and I got to get back into that. The reason all of this stuff, the reason they're bringing in all of these foreigners into Christian lands, because they're not bringing them into non-Christian lands. No, they're not bringing a bunch of foreigners into Muslim lands. They're not bringing a bunch of foreigners into China and communist Marxist places. The reason they're bringing all of these into Christendom is to get rid of Christ. Okay, because they hate the church. You and I have got to become evangelists again all the time. All the time. No, not when you're doing labor work, not when you're doing jobs, but I mean, if you're going to do something fun and different or community based, you got to bring out your faith. So we need to do it. That's the solution. We got to plant more churches here and then across the world, because they're all voodoo. If they're all voodoo in their countries, they're destroying their countries, and then they need to go somewhere else to destroy it. And that's exactly what's happening. Paganism, Islam is destroying their own countries, and then they send them over to ours as foreign armies. And the pagans in our own countries want that. They want that. I mean, they don't know. Maybe they don't even know they want it, but in their hearts, God has put it in their hearts, and their stubborn hearts, to do that, to destroy, to self-destruct. That's my claim as a Christian. That's what the Bible says, pretty much. Okay. So as a layman here, I'm telling you, you got to work on your evangelism, work on your church, work on the men you're with in your role-playing games, fellowshipping, and creating a ministry. We got to get back. We got to get Christians back into the gaming conventions, publishing games, making fun, cool games that have a Christian heroes, pushing Christianity, the gospel. Otherwise, cats and dogs and voodoo. All right, in the game of life, roll a holy dice. I'm still gonna do some cool GM thing here video probably as well, but that's my little hot rant for the day, week, whatever. Game of life, roll holy dice.